everyone, we're gonna make a faux fur fuzzy Christmas bauble. So I had no idea that fuzzy yarn could go through the knitting machine, and I bought this brand. I bought it on Amazon. This one I know for a fact works. I just randomly purchased this. I had no idea what this was going to do, but it actually goes through very easily and smoothly. So if you want to check that yarn out, please do. This is not sponsored. So to make this bauble, we need a fuzzy yarn, a styrofoam ball, and this styrofoam ball is 9.5 inches in circumference. You need a bent needle and an accent color for the bow that we'll put on it. I'm going to use red. So we're going to begin with our fuzzy yarn, and you don't need waste yarn or anything like that. It's nice and easy. And I'm just going to begin casting on this fuzzy yarn, and you're going to see how smoothly this goes through. It's really cool. I'm using my 22 pin machine, okay? And now I'm not able to put this through the yarn feeder because it's going to get caught. So instead I kind of held the yarn off to the side here, stabilized it with my thumb, and it was able to just go through the machine. I want you to see how easily this went through. It just looks like it's jumping because of how I'm holding the machine. Okay, so we got the first row going, and now it's just smoothly going through. It didn't tuck any stitches. There's no drop stitches. Nothing crazy is happening. So I'm going to do this for 23 rows. And I'm going to cut a fairly long tail just so that I have something to work with. I'm going to release this into the center of the machine, and I'm going to go around once to release my stitches. Do this a little carefully just because this is, you know, not a typical yarn. Thread my needle here. I'm using a bent needle because I do feel like that's the easiest needle for this. And now I'm just going to pick these stitches off. I did lose the first one. I was able to grab it right there. And now I'm just going to go around and I'm going to pick these stitches off. Okay, so we're going to take this out, and now I'm going to stretch this. What's interesting about this yarn is on one side you can see the stitches, but then on the inside it's really fuzzy. So that's the side I want on the outside. So I'm going to flip this inside out, and just have your tails on your opposite ends like that. Now I have my styrofoam ball. I'm just going to place this inside, and I'm going to cinch both of the ends up, close this off. There's one end, and then I'm going to pull this out. Do this a little carefully because it is, you know, not like a typical yarn. You don't want anything to go awry. And there's my two ends. This is so cool. I love this. All right, so now I have both my ends cinched. And there you have it. Now I'm going to take one end and I'm going to thread it through so that it's out the other side. I'm going to thread that through the middle, and I'm going to get this out the opposite side. And again, just pull your ends so that they're nice and tight. And then we're going to use those to hang the ornament, so do not cut those tails. Now I'm going to make the bow. So I'm going to grab some waste yarn, and I'm just going to do a couple of rows of waste yarn. Okay, so I'm going to do like 5 rows of waste yarn. And I have this really pretty red sparkly yarn for the bow. And I'm going to do 15 rows of red. Then cut a reasonably long tail. Place this inside the machine. And then we're going to close off with 6 rows of waste yarn again. Cut the yarn, release this into the machine, and go around once, releasing all the stitches. And let's see what we have. So let's stretch this out. And this is what will be our bow. So now we need a crochet hook, and we're going to close off the 2 sides. So you have your tails on one end, have those on your left, fold it in half, and find the opposite end over here. And I'm going to insert my crochet hook into that middle stitch, and then into the one right above it, like that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that top stitch under. Then I'm going to go to the next stitch, which is right here. I'm going to be doing a zigzag across from each other. So I'm going to go into this one, and I'm just going to pull that stitch through. Then I'm going to go to the one across it on the top. And I'm going to pull that stitch through. Then I'm going to go back over here to the bottom. And I'm just going to keep doing that, going back and forth. And this will close off the seam. You're going to get like a little zigzag pattern, which is actually really cute. Sometimes they get a little sneaky, so just make sure nothing gets pulled too tight that you can't see the stitch. So again, it's just this zigzag back and forth, and it creates this kind of braided effect. Going to the bottom row, and then you go across to the top. I'm just constantly going back and forth until we get to the end. Last one is usually kind of buried, so you have to dig in there a bit to find it. The last one is here. Pull that through. And I have this tail here, and I'm just going to pull that through to secure the end. And there's one side. And then we can remove this waste yarn. And just make sure that you don't have any loose stitches remaining. Sometimes they get sneaky, okay? And there is one end completed. I don't see any loose stitches or anything, so I think this side is safe. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're left with this square. So now cut a fairly long tail of your main color, and I'm going to lay this flat, and I'm just going to take this long piece that I just cut and try to position it in the center of your square here, and make sure your ends are of an equal distance. So these two ends are like that. I'm going to pinch the top part of this and start bringing these tails toward each other. So there's one side, and then I'm going to pull up the other side. I don't want to lose this nice little ridge that I've created. There's the other end. It's a little off. I'm just going to slide it a little, and now I'm going to begin wrapping this to secure the bow. You can do this as many times as you want, depending on how wide you want your wrap to look. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to tie some knots to secure this. And there's the bow, and now I'm just going to get rid of these tails that are on the two edges. But don't get rid of the middle tails yet, because you need those. Just want to get rid of these. Pull that inside. And there's the bow. And you can slide this down a little if it's not completely centered. So I think that's pretty good. Now we're going to place the bow on the top of the furry bauble. I'm going to thread my needle with one of these tails, and I'm just going to pull this tail through the topmost part from one side out to the other. Then I'm going to grab the other tail, and I'm going to do the same thing, but just make sure it's at least over one stitch, otherwise your stitches will fall through. I'm going to put that one right there. But I'm going to have them both come out the same hole, even though the entry point is different. And then I'm just going to tie this, and it just disappears into the fluff. Maybe one more. I'm going to thread both these tails at the same time just to get rid of them. I'm just going to let this disappear into the ornament. Trim that. Don't cut your fuzz though, let it absorb in. And that's what we have. I think that's really cute. It's like a snowball with a bow. So now I have my two ends here, and I'm going to tie this so that I'm able to hang it about there. That. And I'm just gonna trim that with a little flub. And there's the ornament. It's really cute. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful. I was really just so excited that this fuzzy yarn works on the knitting machine. If you make this, let me know. There's all kinds of variations you can do. You don't have to use the fuzzy yarn. You could just use a regular yarn and put the bow on it. So I hope you liked this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. And if you make this project, let me know. Bye-bye.